So I broke down the State of the Union. We reviewed it. I couldn't get through all of it, but it definitely was an interesting State of the Union. I even dropped some gems in there for y'all. I might even have those clipped up. But Tucker Carlson was one of the people that decided to respond to it. I did not see it, but everybody was saying that it was a phenomenal response. And so I wanted to share this with you guys and see if we can break this down. 16 minutes. Hopefully we can get through it fairly quickly, and we're going to keep it moving. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let's get it popping, y'all.
Good evening and welcome to the Tucker Carlson Network live. Well, that was quite an experience watching that. You know, you think of Joe Biden as a doddering old man, a guy who can't remember when his son died or when he served as vice president. And of course, that's exactly who he is, and it's on display every day. But Joe Biden is also a cruel and vicious demagogue, a man who has no problem at all denouncing his fellow Americans or putting his political opponents in prison as he has done. And that was all on display tonight. That was possibly the darkest, most un-American speech ever given by an American president. In fact, it wasn't a speech. It was a rant, entirely lacking in decency or generosity to his fellow Americans. In Joe Biden's very first sentence, he compared Donald Trump to Adolf Hitler.
Thank you, Amy. I appreciate you for supporting the platform. You said I'm your new favorite show. You my new favorite girl. Thank you, Amy.
He did not describe Trump as the other party's candidate, which he is, a political opponent in a country that's had peaceful elections for 250 years. No. According to Joe Biden, Donald Trump is Adolf Hitler. He is an existential threat to freedom and democracy. If he wins, you will die, and so will your country. That was the first sentence. But that was really the last time he mentioned the United States at all.
And you know what the interesting thing is about that, saying that, is it's the same tactic that they use dedicated to black people, except for now they expanded it over into the entire United States of America. Because they know that people are waking up. And so they basically, instead of saying, hey, this is what my accomplishments are, they started off by throwing shots and insults and guilt, shame, the whole 9 yards. They basically said, hey, listen, that's the devil. If you vote for him, then the world is going to end. They didn't say that this is what we stand on as far as our merits. They said, if you vote for him, you're the devil too. That's how they started off the speech.
Or paragraphs and paragraphs. Biden quickly explained that actually his top priority has nothing to do with America. His top priority is sending billions more to Ukraine. A foreign war in Eastern Europe, a war across the world that has nothing to do with the United States, that the United States is not obligated by any treaty to join. Of course, Ukraine is not a member of NATO. A war that can only hurt this country and already has hurt it in grave and permanent ways. The invasion of Ukraine is the most important thing to Joe Biden. Not ending the invasion of our own country by drug cartels, which control huge swaths of the southern United States at this point. Not our degrading economy you experience every day. Not our collapsing schools, schools where kids can't read at all. Not the 100,000 fentanyl deaths every year. Not the declining life expectancy that is obvious if you look around. Collapsing public health, an epidemic of suicide and murder, things that hurt Americans. Ghost armies of drug addicts living on the streets. Right outside the chamber where the speech was given tonight. None of that matters. Biden's top priority is aid for Ukraine. It was deranged. You watch this, you thought, this is insane. Does anyone in the room think it's insane? They must.
Nope, they was all standing up and clapping just like Kamala Harris.
Here's how the Republican Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson of Louisiana, newly elected, the man who leads Republicans, in fact, the top elected Republican in the United States of America. Here's how he responded as Joe Biden told the country that the invasion of Ukraine is his top priority. Watch this.
Overseas, Putin of Russia is on the march, invading Ukraine and sowing chaos throughout Europe and beyond. If anybody in this room thinks Putin will stop at Ukraine, I assure you he will not. But Ukraine can stop Putin. Ukraine can stop Putin if we stand with Ukraine and provide the weapons that needs to defend itself. My message to President Putin, who I've known for a long time, is simple. We will not walk away. We will not bow down. I will not bow down.
This is crazy talk. There's no explanation of what the goal is here.
And that's what my thing is. It's like somehow, some way, I guess we're all supposed to either just go along with it or we just trying to understand exactly what this means. Nobody is actually, now we can all assume, I can say, well, we're fighting a proxy war through Ukraine in order to really get back at or deal with or, whatever with Russia. Or maybe I could say that in addition to fighting a proxy war, that there's a lot of people that lobby for this because they benefit off of the fact that Ukraine is at war with Russia financially, right? It's a lot of ways that we can break this down. But here's the truth. Nobody actually has ever said why we're spending so much money and why it's basically on our shoulders as a country more than any other country in order to continue to supply weapons, money, and aid towards this proxy war and how this benefits us at all. Who's benefiting from us participating in this while we continue to divest from investing in the United States of America and the things that actually would help the citizens here? So we're giving away our money in order to fight a proxy war, but it's not necessarily clear to us what benefit we get from it. It's just that we will not stop. Okay, I got it.
There's lie after lie. Ukraine can stop Russia. No, it can't. This has gone on for over 2 years. NATO is stronger than ever. No, it's not. NATO is on its way to collapse, as is the economy of Western Europe. For not one sentence did Joe Biden explain what the goal of this exercise is, when we'll know we've won, and what the future should look like. Again, it was crazy talk. And yet, Mike Johnson, the Republican Speaker of the House, nodded gravely. Oh, of course, he is completely on board with Joe Biden on this Biden's signature issue. And that's not a guess. As of this afternoon, Mike Johnson is secretly supporting Biden's agenda, sending another $60 billion to the oligarchs in Ukraine. Johnson plans to let Democrats onto the floor of the House to vote for this. This is a stealthy procedural move designed to shield him and other Republicans from criticism. Oh, the Democrats did it. But that's exactly what it is. He's the Speaker of the House. He could stop it, but he won't because he's on board. So why is he on board? Is Mike Johnson representing his own voters as he backs Joe Biden's signature agenda item, a war against Russia? No, he's not. Republican voters in Louisiana are not for this. Republican voters nationally are not for this. They hate this. It has nothing to do with them. And it's insulting. As their country is invaded, we send billions to prevent the invasion of another country that we have nothing to do with? But the uni-party demands this, so Mike Johnson is doing it. And so at some point you ask, well, why are they demanding this, actually? Why is war with Russia the most important thing? If you look at the numbers or a map, it wouldn't be obvious that Russia would be America's main enemy. There are other candidates. Could it be because Russia is the largest white Christian country in the world? Maybe. Could it be because they're getting rich from war? Well, that's certainly true. And there may be other reasons as well. We could guess. But we don't need to, because we know that it's happening, and we know that war against Russia is not the only war we're going to be engaged in, and not the only one that Biden announced tonight. Biden also told the country that we're going to have boots on the ground in Gaza. Really? Or admitted it, in fact. American forces have actually been there for months. Did you know that? Did anyone ask you? Has anyone explained to you, no matter where your sympathies lie, what the point of this is, when we'll know we've won? What's the objective here? American life.
Now, we do remember, though, and it's a lot of people that want to deny this, but we did no new wars under Trump. That's a fact. No matter how you put it, no matter how you explain it, no matter how you play it, we actually removed troops and we started to pull out of countries. We had zero, absolutely none, no new wars under Trump. That is a fact. We ain't have our military members going over and doing nothing. None of that. Zero. The only war that we had was a war against American workers and work from America continuing to go to other countries, and for there to be a tariff war with China. A war to make sure that we protected the steel industry and automakers from outside sources. That was the war.
Lives will be at risk. But of course, no one's told you. And of course, you already know the point. The point is to suck the United States into another foreign war that can't possibly help the United States, a war that can only hurt us and already is hurting us. And we're doing this not because it helps us, but because foreign interests are demanding that we do it. America is being used, as we so often have been. And the result of all of this is that the world is now closer to nuclear war at this moment than at any time in history, closer than it was during the Cuban Missile Crisis. We have no idea where this is going. You never do once people start to die, once wars begin. No PowerPoint can tell you, no speech to a joint session can tell you where this is going. It's dynamic.
Do you realize that when this war first started in Ukraine, we knew everything that was happening. We knew everything that was going on. They had journalists over there documenting everything. Now we just throwing money at it. We don't know what's happening. We don't know what's going on. We're not sure why things are playing out the way that it's planned. There's no coverage. We don't know whether we're progressing, not progressing. All we know is Zelensky show up on American soil, posture, get an additional $60 billion from us, and a bunch of money from everywhere else. And then, hey, listen, we will not stop ever. It's just a part of our budget now.
Dynamic. It's completely unpredictable. And that's why wise people pause before accelerating. But there are no wise people in charge in either party, on either side. Do you think Tony Blinken, the Secretary of State, has any clue what will happen in a war with Russia? Of course not. You can't say where this is going. This is so reckless that it qualifies as suicidal. And maybe they are. But the rest of us aren't. But the most interesting fact of the speech was the emphasis. There was not a meaningful word for the entire duration about the things that actually matter to people who live here, like crime or inflation or fentanyl or the foreign army now occupying our country. Joe Biden doesn't care. There was no upside for you in any of the things that he said. But he does have a present for you. He's got something to give you, something you want very badly. Here it is.
Look, it's a decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. The Supreme Court majority wrote the following. And with all due respect, justices, women are not without electoral power. Electoral or political power. You're about to realize just how much you're right about that.
Look at all of the women in white inside of the audience. And they're going to be the ones that influence the election because they believe that their emotional votes and outbursts are more important than our policies and the wars that we're dealing with and our borders that's open and the fentanyl deaths and inflation and the fact that you guys can't afford a home and corporate landlords and every single thing that's happening as far as the migrants and the school system and our education system and people literally just flooding into here and then we using your resources in order to take care of them with healthcare coverage and schooling and shelter and hotel stays. And even though we have to now also not even put into perspective how much money that we spending with regard to the criminal justice system and crime, chasing these people down, police officers. It's sad. It's absolutely sad.
Clearly,
and you guys can prevent whether or not you even want to get into a position to have an abortion in the first place. Yeah, okay.
those bragging about overturning Roe v. Wade have no clue about the power of women. But they found out when reproductive freedom was on the ballot. We won in 2022 and 2020, and we'll win again in 2024.
Of all of the presidents that we had, is it possible that Biden might be one of the worst ones? But we got women in the chat like Trish that's absolutely going to be emotional in the fact that they're going to vote no matter what the same way, and that's what they banking on. That's absolutely what they depending on.